So we talk about real estate in terms of owning it as a primary residence, as a secondary residence, but today we're going to talk more about renting it, or being a renter, or being a property owner and using it as a short-term rental. I'm here with Zach and Katie Vavak.
Yeah.
Vavak. Say that one more time.
That's good.
With Grand Welcome.
That's right.
And you guys own a company that helps owners rent their properties.
Yes.
Correct. But also help potential tenants find properties to rent, right?
That's right.
So let's talk about this. First, I'll tell a little bit about yourself. Are you guys full-time residents down here?
We are. We moved here. Katie quit her full-time job, full-time gig, and packed our stuff and moved here full-time.
Now this is your full-time gig.
We love it.
It is. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the market here, first of all, because most people just, when you think of Lake of the Ozarks, and I have thought the same way, that it is memorial to labor. And so when I think of it, as a renter, I think that's the time I want to rent, when all the boats are out there. Mm-hmm. And as a property owner, I sometimes think to myself, well, that's not a good market to rent, because how am I going to cash flow when I can only rent 3 months out of the year?
Sure.
So let's first talk about that. Is that a misconception?
I think to some degree, the first thing you got to realize is that the lake, in my opinion, the best times at the lake are actually just before season and just after, right? And as someone who's been coming down here for 10 years, fall and spring are always my favorite seasons. So I would say if you haven't been here in those times, you should definitely book a place, come down and see that. Obviously the summer is a great time. You got the time period you talked about, and we were typically booked out through that time. But actually people come down here during Thanksgiving, for New Year, for Christmas sometimes. And the lake is, as it's grown and as more people are moving here, Lake Expo recently did an article about this. A lot of people are moving here full time. COVID really helped with that. There are more people here, which means there are more events here. And in fact, since we've moved here, we've done more and more events.
Yeah, absolutely. The lake does big events in March for St. Patrick's Day, which is a really good time. There's spring and fall fishing tournaments. There's
Bassmasters is this weekend right now.
Yeah, it's great. So there's lots of stuff going on. But if you're not plugged into the area, you just may not know that those things are there. So we'd like to help bring some light to all of these wonderful events that happen just outside those main time frames, because it's still a wonderful place to be at the lake.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned the kind of the whole community mindset, and you guys have a pretty strong commitment to the community. So talk a little bit about what that commitment looks like, and how your love of this community kind of runs deep and carries through to your business.
That's a great question. My wife, Katie's been coming here for 30 years. I mean, her entire life. And so it's interesting. We met in college. I was 18 years old, and she started bringing me down here, and I absolutely fell in love with this place. And so for my entire adult career life, we've been coming down here as much as possible. And all of that really resonated with me, because you come down here and you go to these restaurants and you go to these places and you talk to these people and you're meeting all these great people, and everyone is just so happy to be at the lake, right? And so the more people I personally met, the more I wanted to be here more. There's waterways all across the U.S. you can visit. There's lots of places to go, but very few places like the lake and the community that's here. And so when we got down here, first thing we did was we joined the Chamber of Commerce. We want to be a part of this community. We want to learn. We figured out which restaurants we could go to and eat at and support. We figured out the local places in Lori where our office is. We try to buy coffee every morning there, because we truly believe that we have to support each other. And the winter is slower here. Like, let's not be sideways about it. And so if you're here, you support. And then I think the last bit of that is we've joined, the local realtor board. We're joining business networking groups. We're going to join, we're trying to sponsor events that really help bring awareness to visitation to the lake. So our commitment is supporting and bringing life to this community. And one of the ways we're going to do that is support ourselves. That's what we can do today. As we grow and as we put more properties on and we onboard those properties, it's bringing more people here. And so kind of part of our commitment.
Yeah, I think Zach's hit it right on the head, but we live here full time now. We're committed to being here. And we have kids, and we're a young family, and our kids go to school here, and we want this community to grow, so that they have a wonderful place to be and to have a great childhood. I mean, who doesn't want to wake up every morning and see the lake and live that lake lifestyle all year round? So, we want the community to thrive for our family.
And you hear this a lot in a lot of these interviews. If you watch some of our interviews, the common thread that everyone says when I talk to anyone, when I do an interview, is just feel at peace. I just feel different when I cross over the lake or when I walk in the front door. And if you haven't experienced that, you need to experience that. But I'm gonna there's the elephant in the room, and I'm gonna call it out. You won't, I will. When it comes to the real estate market down here, I've had comments. I've had people message me through my videos from our TikTok channel saying, "Hey, do you have any advice on short-term rental management? Because I own them and I have a hard time finding a good company." And so my first inclination is thinking, okay, if I'm working with a company, a short-term rental management company here at the Lake of the Ozarks, well, I feel like I need somebody local, number one. My first thought would be I need to work with a local mom and pop. You guys are a franchise, and we've talked about this, and you've helped me understand why there's a benefit to that. Maybe explain the difference between why someone would choose to work with somebody like Grand Welcome versus, Tom and Sue, Lake of the Ozarks. That doesn't actually exist. I hope not, anyway.
Maybe, I don't know. If you're continuing to try to market the properties you have, like you did in 2017, like you did before COVID, you're missing the mark. Technology has increased to the spot where people, when they book their travel, when they want to know where they want to go, we're not just competing with Lake of the Ozarks. We're competing with areas around us. We're competing with areas outside of us. We're competing with Florida. I mean, think about it. You have a family. You're getting ready to go on vacation. First thing you do is, what's it going to cost me, right? You got to figure that out. What do I want to spend? And then it's, where do I want to go with that money? And when those two things happen, Lake of the Ozarks needs both ends of those spectrums to bring people in here. And so how we market matters. In fact, when Katie and I had our own properties, managing our own properties, I will tell you that getting it on one site isn't good enough anymore. Putting it on Airbnb or VRBO isn't enough. You have to think broader about your marketing strategy. That includes what you price it at, how you price it, when you price it, how long do you do a stay? Like, how long do you let them stay? Is it a minimum night of 2, or is it 5? Is it 4? Like, what is that? Hey, what happens when they get there? When they walk in the door, how do they feel? How do they react? To your point earlier, I want to walk in and feel like I'm home. I don't want to walk into problems, right? And I think all of those things wrap in. So the franchise for us locally, Katie and I, as people who like to travel and been in VRBOs and can get an experience for that, we've said, okay, we think we can put something together that's a good experience here. Here's what we don't know. And I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to get on 50 sites and get it all into one system and make sure that when you book on VRBO, it takes it off of Travelocity. Right. I don't know how to do that. The franchise does. And so we partner with Grand Welcome. They're a nationally known franchise. They got 1,600 doors nationwide. They got 300 in Branson. And we partnered with them. And the first thing we did was call those franchisees and said, how well does Grand Welcome support you? And every one of them. And Katie, I mean, if you're on the calls, I mean, every one of them are like, hey, this is great. They get people in the doors. And when there's a problem, they make sure that we either are aware of it. They offer, tons of resources for us as owners to do it. So, where I think some folks would go, well, I need someone who's been doing it for 30 years. Look, there's no doubt you've been doing this for 30 years. You got some experience, and you can't discount that. But at the other end, for us, it's like, hey, it's not 2017. It's 2023, and it's time to market yourself better. And how you do that it matters, isn't important. How you use your social media channels matter, and how you get people in the door. So that's really our shtick is, look, we're locally owned, and we're going to be here when there's a problem. And we're going to make sure guests have a great experience. But when your property goes up, you should feel really good that it's on 30 plus websites, that's going to be connected. There's not going to be any problem. And when a guest has a question, before they even book, there's going to be an answer and a really solid company standing behind them. And to start a real estate company in this market, you're going to have help. And that's exactly why we deal with it.
Love it. So you are the best of both worlds, It's the resources that you may not get if you're doing it on your own, coupled with the local feel because you're local.
Yeah.
And so it's not like when you go to your website, for example, to rent or to use you to be the one managing it for them, they're going to be dealing with somebody in New York or LA Correct. Or something like that. I love that. But now with all of that, I would assume it's going to come with a higher price.
You'd think. So the great thing about our model is we don't have illusions of grandeur. This is an opportunity for us to give back, an opportunity for us to live a life we want to live here at the lake. And I'll just be honest with you, we started 18% management fee, which is about as low as you're going to get. And Brandon Welcome allows us to do that. They charge us for the listings. We still have to pay the Airbnb fees and all those things. And then where we really going to make our money, just to be honest, is scale. And so our goal, and just to add on to that, people shouldn't feel like once we get to 100 properties, it's gonna get less. We're still very boutique-like. So our goal is to hire someone between 20 and 30 properties, somewhere in there. Every time we get that picked up, it's hiring another manager to manage those. So we have a solid business plan, and anyway, we want to make sure people make money too.
So as a property owner, what could be an expectation? So going back to the original conversation that I brought up, which is just the mystique that this is a memorial to labor. If I'm a property owner, I'm considering owning because a lot of people with money are moving here. And so myself included, without the money part, I'm just wanting to move here. But I think the idea of owning here, again, it's like, I know how it makes me feel. It would make me feel good to make other people feel the same way. My fear has always been, will I cash flow? Will I make money? So what is an expectation for someone who owns property that, let's just assume it's on the lake, house, condo, whatever, or is there a difference in how they rent? For how much of the year, what percentage would be rented? Yeah,
I think if you really looked at it, you're going to look between 34 and 40% of the year. And that's a pretty decent amount of time, honestly. We see anywhere from 14% all up to 70% in some properties. Depends on where you are, what market you're in. I mean, there's really 4 distinct markets at this lake, and depending on where you're at and what's going on that time of year, is how much you're going to get. What we try to do is set realistic expectations. And if I would be lying to you if I said you're going to buy a property and pay the 8% that is today and put 10% down and you're going to cash flow a bunch of money, because you're not. That's just not the reality. But here's what is going to happen is you put down the 20%, you get a decent loan. You're going to be able to have someone else pay for that property for you. You're going to be able to create better experiences for you and your family, and potentially own a vacation or a second home to come here and visit, and basically someone else is paying the bill. So from an owner perspective, it's a really great deal if this is the place you want to be. And as you get into the higher house markets, there's absolutely opportunity to say, I want to buy a place on the lake that is torn down and broken, rebuild, flip that, and then rent it to make the money. There's opportunity there. So there are deals if you're a big investor and you want to be a part of it. And there's also opportunity if you're a small investor wanting to get into something and learn here. But I will tell you, because of those margins the way they are, who you pick to help you manage that matters. And I can tell you, if you haven't done it and you're going it alone, there's a real opportunity you're going to lose profit on that because of the way you have to market that, because systems cost money.
Now, is it, I don't know how this works, and I'm going to ask you, is when you guys make money based on when you rent it?
Yep.
In other words, you've got skin in the game. In other words, you have every incentive. If somebody, because my guess is, based on what you just said, because I know this for a fact, that a lot of my friends who are second home owners here, I mean, gosh, and I've had summers where I've only been down here 5 or 6 weekends, and I'm missing opportunity on all the weekends that I'm potentially not. So I think there's probably a bunch of us that don't even think about this as a potential opportunity, that, hey, just get your unit rent ready.
Yep.
And why not? If you're not going to be there, it's just sitting idle. So why not cash flow a little bit? Any tips for anybody who would consider doing that? Like things that they should do to get their unit ready, locking up certain cabinets, things like that, or?
Yeah, so the things that we typically recommend, we have a whole list of items that make a guest's stay feel more comfortable, right? You want them to have the things that they would need if they were at their home. So we provide a list to make sure that there's enough, silverware, and there's enough plates and cups for the number of occupants that might be staying in your home or your condo. Making sure there's cookware that's, crock pots, linens, beach towels, so we provide a good list of things that help ensure that the guests have a good experience while they're in your property. And they're probably things you already have anyway. You're using the property, they're going to need the same things. We also, recommend that owners create an owner closet. And so that's where you put all of your personal belongings, the things that you don't want somebody else to have access to. We're going to pick a closet, and we're going to put all those things in there, and we're going to lock them up and keep them safe for you. And then when you come down and you're ready to use your place, unlock your closet, get your stuff out, and you have a wonderful weekend with your family.
Yeah, I'll give you a good tip I learned recently. You need a Keurig and a coffee pot.
Both.
Yeah, because some people don't like Keurigs.
Yeah,
and some don't like coffee.
I can concur with that as a coffee person. Yeah.
Well, and same thing with like TV. We generally recommend that you have both cable and streaming in the home, because it just depends.
How things evolve. Huh?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oftentimes you go to vacation, you don't need a TV.
Sure.
You would hope you would.
I get it. No, I mean, believe me, I have kids. I need a TV.
But depending on who's staying in your property, different generations just like to function differently.
Sure.
They might want to sit down and have a whole pot of coffee in the mornings on the deck with the view, or they might prefer their local TV channels, whereas a younger demographic with families is going to be looking for those streaming devices so they can get on their Netflix accounts, and they're looking for those quick, I just need one cup of coffee and then we're off to play on the water all day. So we have lots of recommendations for things like that just make sure that no matter who's in your property, that everybody's feeling that grand welcome and that everybody's having a good experience.
Grand welcome.
I see.
Well played. See what you did there. Yes, well played.
Put it right in.
Well played. And you mentioned something off camera too that I hadn't thought about. Like if you are thinking about doing this and renting or becoming an investor down here, and you were like, I don't need to hire somebody. Let's do it myself. I'll throw it on VRBO and Airbnb. But you don't think about the things like you had mentioned. If you rent a weekend on Airbnb, you got to run over to VRBO and take it off. And it's just all the little nuances that you don't think about when you're trying to penny pinch every dollar from the rent.
Yeah. And I usually tell people, I'm talking to them about this, is like my 18%, I'm going to make that back for you. I'm going to do my very best to do that. And when you're dealing with a 2 a.m. phone call and you're in, just St. Louis, we lived in St. Louis, just in St. Louis, you're waking up at 2 a.m. You should remember that. Saturday or Sunday morning, you're waking up at 2 and they're having a problem. And then you're trying to find your local guy to wake him up. That's a rough.
I don't want to do that.
Right. Especially, we hear this a lot. If you have a place by the dam, all those places down there, people party. They love to come down here and party. Then they go back to their place. Guess what? They don't remember what unit it was. They don't know how to get in the door. And they forgot the door code.
I don't think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We take those calls.
And that makes sense. So if somebody is a current owner and is looking for a good company because they've had a poor experience, if someone is a potential investor and wants to talk to you about just running numbers, crunching numbers, if somebody's a second homeowner and they just want to rent out various weekends they're not using it, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can call us, go to our website, lakeoftheozarksmanagement.com. You can shoot us a DM on Facebook, on LinkedIn.
How do we find you on those places?
Yeah, we're on Grand Welcome Lake of the Ozarks. Type it in, you'll find us. We try to stay as active as we can on there. Obviously, I got to learn from you a little bit on how to get better.
Try to help you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But that's how you can find us. You can absolutely, I would tell you that the best way to get a hold of us is just call the number on the website. Call it, and we'll answer the phone. So
we'll slap it all over this video.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So you have like a point here?
Yeah.
Call here.
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, just call us. Weekends, I don't care. Call me.
Love it. Well, thank you guys. This is fun. It's good to know somebody in the business because, as I've said, I've had people reach out and they've struggled, and so I think you guys are the answer to everyone's prayers.
Oh man, I appreciate that. We wanna live up to that for sure.
Awesome. Good luck.
Thanks, man.
Good to meet you guys.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.